Okay, so we all know AI is changing everything, right? Especially in education. But what if I told you that the secret to bringing AI into the classroom successfully isn't just about how much teachers know, but actually about how anxious their students feel? It sounds crazy, I know. But today we're diving into a fascinating study that kind of flips everything we thought we knew on its head. So let me just ask you this straight up. When you imagine a truly great teacher in this new AI world, what's the number one thing you think they need to have? What's that essential skill?
For most of us, the answer seems like a total no-brainer. They've got to be tech wizards, right? They need to know all the latest AI tools, all the platforms inside and out. It's just common sense.
But what if that common sense answer is actually wrong? Or at the very least, just not the whole story? Well, it turns out a recent study decided to dig into this exact question. And what they found is that the reality is way more complex. And honestly, a lot more surprising than you might think. All right, let's get into it. To really understand the study's wild conclusion, we first have to get to know the two main players the researchers were looking at. You've got the teacher on one side of the ring and the student on the other. The researchers basically set up this really interesting dynamic: teacher AI literacy versus student AI anxiety. Think of these as the two main ingredients in a recipe that decides whether AI in the classroom becomes this amazing success or, well, a total flop. First up, let's talk about the teacher. When the study says AI literacy, it doesn't just mean knowing how to code or use a fancy program. It's much broader. It's about a teacher's ability to really understand AI, to use it effectively, and, this is key, to evaluate which tools are actually helpful for learning. And this literacy isn't just one thing. They broke it down. It starts with the basics: AI awareness. Can a teacher even spot the difference between an AI tool and a regular old program? Then you've got usage. Can they actually make the AI do something useful? And finally, the top level: evaluation. Can they look at two different AI tools and decide which one is the right one for the job? Okay, now let's flip over to the other side of the desk. Student AI anxiety. This one is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's that feeling of unease, that nervousness, or even straight-up fear that students can get when they have to use or think about AI. And this anxiety isn't just one simple feeling. It's actually a mix of a few different things. You've got the stress of just trying to learn a new piece of tech. Then there's that bigger, more existential fear: is AI going to make my future career obsolete? There's also the worry that the technology will just break or go wrong. And of course, there's that slightly creepy feeling some people get when AI starts to act a little too human. And this right here, this is basically the researchers' game plan. Now, I know it looks a little complicated, but just think of it like a roadmap. Over on the far left, you have all those ingredients we just talked about, the different teacher skills and student anxieties. The study then follows the arrows to see how those combine to create what they call digital leadership in the teacher. And that leadership is the thing that ultimately leads to those great student outcomes you see on the far right. It's like a domino effect, from feelings and skills all the way to success. So you've got the setup. The obvious path to success seems crystal clear. You want a teacher who's a total pro with AI and students who are cool, calm, and collected. Easy enough, right? Case closed. Well, this is where the findings start to get really weird. You see, the study found there isn't just one single path to success. They used this concept called equifinality, which is a very fancy way of saying there are multiple, totally different recipes that can all bake the same delicious cake. The secret isn't finding one perfect ingredient, it's about finding the right combination. And the researchers actually found 3 of these winning recipes. First, you've got the classic. This is the one we all would have guessed: a teacher with high AI skills and students with low anxiety. Makes sense. But then, look at this, the paradox. This one shows that a great teacher can also succeed with students who are highly anxious. And then there's the motivator, which is even crazier. It shows that success is still possible even when a teacher has low AI literacy, just as long as the student anxiety is high. But here is the absolute kicker. When they crunched all the numbers, the single most common recipe for success, the pathway that explained more successful classrooms than any other, was that combination of a teacher with high AI literacy and students with high AI anxiety. Wild, right? Okay, I know what you're thinking. This feels completely backwards. How on earth can student fear and worry possibly be part of a winning formula? Let's take a minute and really unpack this anxiety paradox. The researchers explain this with a concept they call facilitating anxiety. The idea is that a certain kind of anxiety doesn't paralyze you, it actually motivates you. As they say in the paper, it drives behavior toward learning, especially in areas where one feels threatened and vulnerable. So let me put it another way. If you're a student and you're a little bit worried that AI might impact your future, you're probably going to lean in and pay a lot more attention when your teacher starts talking about it. You're motivated to master it. That anxiety creates a positive tension that a good teacher can actually use. It's not about fear, it's about focus.
So what in the world does this all mean for the actual classroom? This research really forces us to rethink our whole picture of what makes a digital classroom effective.
All right, so let's boil it all down. What are the big takeaways here? First, there's no single magic bullet. Lots of different combinations can lead to success. Second, out of all the teacher skills, the most important one is just basic AI awareness, simply knowing what's what. Third, and this is the big one, student anxiety isn't always the enemy. It can actually be a catalyst. And finally, all of this means we need a much smarter, more nuanced approach that looks at both what the teacher knows and what the student is feeling. And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to chew on. If a certain level of student anxiety can actually be a tool for learning, what does that mean for how we train our teachers? Should we be teaching them not just how to use AI, but how to recognize, understand, and maybe even leverage the natural anxiety their students have about the future? It opens up a whole new dimension to what it means to be a truly great teacher in the age of AI.